Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome founder Jay Kubasek.
Today I'm going to talk to you about 99%, the method. You guys all know that I have a book coming out in 2011 called 99%. And I've been asked 100 times in the last year, when is that book coming out? What does 99% mean? And if you're on my calls every Friday afternoon, the Leadership Mastermind call, now called the 99% call as of next week, you've heard about this. But I want to talk to you about a concept that I so firmly believe in. I believe in it so firmly that I've tattooed it onto my skin. Now this X is also a Roman numeral 10. J is the 10th letter of the alphabet. My wife's name is Jamie. I love her, and what I do is for her. Everybody please give my wonderful wife Jamie a round of applause. But after I made the decision to get this tattoo for her, she actually got a tattoo for me, and I got to one-up that somehow, so I put it right here. I was in the middle of writing this book, and I was in this personal self-discovery journey, and this 99% concept, which comes from the Thomas Edison quote, which is my favorite quote. Success is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. It's pretty simple. As I was going through this process of writing this book, I realized there's a lot more to this. And if you remember, for those of you that were at this event a year ago, I told you a year ago that my book was coming in January. We're about a year behind. And it's because I required another year of growth and of evolution and of learning and of being the student and humility and leadership and inspiration and all of those things before I was ready to come to this point. So I'm going to share with you what is this concept. And my goal here is to inspire you to go home and to take action and to do things that you never thought you had the kahunas to do. At 211 degrees, you have hot water. At 212 degrees, it boils. With boiling water comes steam. Steam can power a locomotive, and it can heat a city. You can iron clothes with it. There's a lot of things you can do with the steam. Hot water, I mean, it's good for a lot of things. You can make oatmeal with it. You can wash dishes with it. You can wash your clothes. You can do all kinds of great things with hot water. It's a luxury to have warm water. A lot of countries don't have heated water, don't have clean water. But boiling water, that 1 degree of separation creates an intangible that changes everything. Completely changes everything. You were actually born with 99% of everything you require to become a success in this lifetime. You are the locomotive. Your legacy, your business, that's the freight train. 99% of what you require to leave this earth, when you slide into your parking spot in heaven with the tires squealing, the kids and the wife screaming, holy, what a ride. When that moment comes, when the final moment comes, that when you're counting down your last 10 heartbeats, what you did with your life, 99% of what it's going to take you to feel good about that, you already have. I'm going to give you some examples here. I believe if you have at least one eye, or an eye that kind of works, or one ear, you don't need both. You don't need any arms or legs. You don't need to move. Stephen Hawking, you guys know, the Canadian physicist, multiple bestsellers, one of the most influential, not only authors, but just incredible human beings that have ever existed. The most influential people, and he's a quadriplegic. So a lot of physical abilities aren't really required. In other words, you don't really need a very good freight train. If you have a physical body, basic communication skills, basic moral principles that you're willing to live by, and you have an IQ of at least 100 or around 100, which is about average, I believe that you have 99% of what it requires for you to become a success in this lifetime. The point that I'm trying to reinforce here is that the fact that you're in this room, and most of you can actually hear what I'm saying, every single one of you has 99% of what is required already. And the fact that you don't actually believe that, or maybe some of you do, is those are the limiting beliefs that are preventing you from just solving that last little 1% variable. We already have 99% of what's required. I believe that with every ounce of my being. If you think that your circumstances are unique, or that you have some circumstances that prohibit you from becoming a successful entrepreneur, look at some of the examples around you, just in this community alone. Some of the people overcoming extraordinary odds to do incredible things. I promise you, your excuses and the BS that you buy into about yourself pale in comparison to someone somewhere who is not allowing that to stand in their way. So the point here is, I want you to just, for a moment, accept the notion that there's only a very, very small element, very small piece left for you to figure out. You're all that close. You're 99% of the way there. I believe that every other aspect of success is contained in three final dimensions, what I call the three final variables: your X variable, your Y variable, and your Z variable. Your X, your Y, and your Z. I've got my X tattooed here because I believe in it so much. I'll talk a little bit about the Y and the Z. I'll give you a taste of what's coming in the book. But the point here is that even though there's only 1% left, I didn't say it was going to be easy. We all got that memo that success wasn't easy. We got that this morning. So what is three-dimensional success? What does success mean to you? How do you define success? I know how I define success, but I'm not going to be conceited enough to suggest that my definition of success will work for you, or should suffice for you. You have to figure out, what does success mean for you? What do you really want to accomplish in this lifetime? What are your aspirations? To me, three-dimensional success is success that's measured in at least three dimensions. It's pretty self-explanatory. Financial or monetary success can definitely be one of them, but there has to be three. There has to be at least three. I'm going to go through the three variables here. Your X. Why are you on this earth? What are you supposed to be doing with your life? I believe there is a specific reason why you do what you do. What you do has to be for a purpose. What is your intention? What is your motive? Think of your X like this. Simon talks about your why. He talks about what you do, how you do it, and why you do it. You sum all of that up. You bring it to the real world and you put it to work. That's what I call your X, or your calling. I believe that my calling in life is to help people wake up, or to wake people up to the choices that they have as individuals so that they can live the life of their dream. What I do is Carbon Copy Pro. What I do is make movies. What I do is off-road racing. What I do is snowboarding. What I do is charity. What I do is family. Those are all what I do. But the big package, when I look at my life, my calling is to wake people up. And I do it through these different businesses. That's life. That's the big game that we're here to play. So what is your calling? I believe every one of us are on this earth in this lifetime for a specific reason. And I believe that it's our obligation to identify what our calling is. That's what makes you a human being versus another life form that has no purpose other than pure existence. Working a job and putting in your 40 years for an employer who will hopefully not screw you out of a retirement. Like Simon said this morning, 90% of employees are not fulfilled. How can you fulfill the reason that you're on this earth if you follow the social norms and work a job for some heartless, soulless corporation who really doesn't give 2 cents about you? Think about that. It's your obligation to figure out what your calling is. I know what my calling is. Parky knows what his is. David knows what his is. Simon knows what his is. But we're just 3 people. And the cool thing about a calling is that you can align with other people who have similar callings. I didn't know what my calling was for many years. So I would go to seminars like this, and I would listen to different speakers, and well, this feels right. And I like this. I didn't know why. But I started to surround myself with people that I felt were taking me closer to that moment of self-discovery. And over the last 7 years, I've been able to define, and up till very recently when I had the privilege of going through the Why Discovery course personally with Simon, I feel like that was the final polish on the tip of that diamond that was required for me to really clearly define why I'm on this earth in this lifetime. How many of you would like to know and be able to say in one sentence why you are on this earth at this moment? It's a really cool feeling. The why variable are your actions. Parky talked about action. There's a lot of rhetoric on this topic, what you do and your persistence and all of that, but I believe that 3-dimensional success is sustainable because it is something that you earned by following a plan or a process. You have to have a deliberate plan. Life may seem arbitrary, but it's not. Throwing you-know-what at the wall and hoping it sticks is not a plan. You've got to create a plan. Have a plan in place. What is your 20-year plan, your 10-year plan, your 5-year plan? And the third dimension is leverage. 3-dimensional success is like a rising tide in a harbor. It lifts all boats. In order to really help yourself, you have to help others. You can only do this by applying leverage to your actions. Leverage is the secret to scalability. It's more about how smart you work than how hard you work. A couple different forms of leverage are, well, the internet is a form of leverage. Employees are a form of leverage. Authority and credibility are forms of leverage. When you say jump, how many people take you seriously? How much credibility do you have? How much authority do you have on any given topic? Authority and credibility are things that you have to earn. They're like credit. Once you've earned credit, your biggest fear is losing that good credit, right? If you have a good credit score and something happens where you lose that credit score and you're not able to get that mortgage or it messes up your financial situation because of some glitch in your credit report or credit score, that's a huge problem. But it's no different than in life. Your credibility and your authority are things that you have to earn. Why should anyone listen to you? Why should anyone care what you have to say? When you have authority, you have leverage because your word is powerful and people will do what you say. When you have integrity and when you follow through on your word means something. It carries weight. It has impact. When you ask for something or when you say something or when you do something, you have power. And now what you do with that power is entirely up to you, of course. But you can see that this leverage component is what gives you scalability. When discovered, your X or your calling, it's very much like a rough diamond. I think each of you have an idea. You have an idea why you're on this earth. I have an idea what your calling is. You maybe haven't very clearly defined it yet, but you have a hunch. It's kind of like a diamond in the rough that has yet to be polished or cut. But as long as you're committed to the process of cutting that diamond, if you're able to cut a perfect stone, you have something of value. A rough diamond is worth far less than a perfectly cut diamond. That's understood. So again, just to kind of recap you, the three dimensions we're talking about are your calling, your X, your actions, and your leverage. We all want to make a lot of money. There's no secret about that, myself included. I'm a money-motivated guy. I like nice things. Good wine isn't cheap. Your remuneration, the money that you are able to earn for yourself as an entrepreneur, as a business person, is really, you can calculate it by a very simple calculation of these three variables, and I'm going to show you how. I'm going to have you visualize three lines: your calling, your actions on one side, leverage on the other side. You multiply the three times each other equals. I'm going to have you visualize, actually you don't have to visualize it, you have it on the nice big screen, a triangle. You have the three sides of the triangle. Your Y is the tip of that triangle. And on the far left you have a self polarity, on the far right you have a service polarity. On the left is you, on the right is everybody else. Imagine that triangle is a diamond and it's balancing on the tip. The reason you want to define your Y is because it needs a singular point to balance on. Ideally. It doesn't have to, but it's ideal if it does. The left, you have your action. The right, leverage. Top, your calling. And it's almost like a three-legged stool. You want to work on all three of these, and you want to solve these three variables simultaneously and work on them simultaneously, because no different than a stool, if one of the legs becomes much longer than the other two, the stool will no longer stand. You don't have to be in perfect balance, but the more perfect the balance, the more perfect your life. But we all know life isn't perfect, so it's about the striving towards that. It's pretty simple. Take more action, have more leverage, have a bigger calling. The surface area of that triangle represents your value to society. How indispensable will you be when you die? Will people miss you? Will people write books about you? Will people make movies about you? Will they talk about you? Will you be missed? Or will they say, glad he's gone. He consumed a lot of carbs, he emitted a lot of emissions, really didn't add a whole lot to society. I mean, that's obviously a pretty brutal description of an existence, but think about it. The more leverage you have, the bigger your calling, and the more you're able to scale it, the more value you can create as a person. The more value, the more earning power you have. The last three slides that I bounced on your screen, we had one on the left, one on the right, one in the middle. I believe to be in perfect balance, you have to take care of yourself and you have to take care of others. Ideally, your why and your calling is in the what you do allows you to put food on the table. Just like Liz Parkinson said in her presentation, I just want groceries. You've got to take care of yourself. A life of absolute service is great, but we all have to eat to live. A life of absolute self is horrible. Nobody wants to die alone. We want something in between. If you cannot feel good about compensating yourself, asking for the check, being compensated for your work or for your efforts, there might be something there for you to look at, some form of insecurity as to your value to society. Why do you feel like you don't deserve what mathematically is truly yours? And I insist that you do accept and you do ask for and you do demand what you're worth. If you're going to put the time and energy into becoming an entrepreneur, you're going to take the courses and earn the credits, you're going to get paid. Nobody works for free, and that's rightfully so. The beautiful thing here is we can scale this. Once you've identified your why and you can put it into words and you can apply action and leverage, you can scale your calling or what you do to infinity. There's no limit. That's the beautiful thing. And again, the bigger the triangle, the bigger the diamond, the more value. Now on the left on that vertical, the vertical dimension here is dollars. The bigger a game you play, the more money you can make. Now just to poke fun at those of you that are still working jobs, I'd like you to visualize a little ladder leaned up against that left vertical there. And imagine crawling up that ladder, the corporate ladder. The people above you kicking you in the face, the people below you trying to pull you down. That's life in the corporate world versus being able to create something beautiful, like true value to society. With great opportunity and great success comes even greater responsibility though, and balance becomes key. The bigger game you're going to play, the more you create, the more risk you have. The more risk you have of losing it. A little too much self, what's going to happen if this triangle starts tipping? Because if it loses balance and it completely inverts, you could lose everything. How many people do you know have had spectacular falls from grace? In our industry alone, the internet marketing and network marketing and direct sales industries, we've seen some pretty spectacular falls from grace. People that we thought were invincible. People that we thought had it figured out. They were not in balance. I'd love to give you guys an excerpt from my book. It won't be out for a few more months, but if you go to the last page of your program and you go to jkubasek.com/99%, we'll have an excerpt posted up there tomorrow, a PDF. You can download it and read it. It's about 1,000 words, and it'll give you a little taste. And it's just for you, just a little taste. I wanted to share something with you, give you something tangible to take away until the book actually comes out. There are order forms that were passed around. The book is on the order form. You can order as many as you want on pre-order. It's an honor and a privilege to have you consider actually reading something that I wrote. This is a couple of years that went into this. I haven't moved mountains, guys. I haven't accomplished half as much as some people in our presence, but it's a privilege to share the little that I do know. So thank you for your time today. Thank you again for being part of my calling and my X.